And we are back. Oh, I needed this today. I needed a shot of live stream. I was like, I gotta Dune, whatever the preview came out. I think we said it was Thursday, so that had me all fired up, and so that'll be. I think my worries have been dissuaded or whatever. I was just worried about the look. Like I was like, maybe it's all too the same or something. But then I saw that preview and it was just incredible. I was like, no, everything looks awesome.
I've watched that trailer so many times because not only was I just rewatching it, because there's something I don't think I've seen anywhere else mentioned,
Yeah.
but I saw in it and I'm thinking, hold on a second, which I'll get to in a moment. But I've also been watching review videos, react.
Oh, I haven't watched any really.
Yeah, and that's I was watching them just to see people's reactions, and like it's all been good.
I
So yeah,
I watched it a couple times and I was like, well, I was busy this weekend, but I almost didn't want to watch it. Like, don't I'm like I watched a few and then I'm like, wait again and then like rewatch it like later after a little bit and then kind of seeing everything. But man, those visuals, I was kind of like I knew the visuals were cool from what I saw, but I was worried it would be like too much one note. You know what I mean? Like everything, it's like cool, but it's like all the same. But just after I got seeing more of it or whatever, I was like, all right, man, this is like all top notch. Like everything was just like so cinematic and just lighting and mood and all that. I was like, gosh. And I haven't been like hyped. I don't really get hyped for movies that much, but this one got me. And I'm like, I was trying to think, I'm like, when was the last time I was kind of this excited for a movie to come out that I really wanted to see? And I was having trouble. I can't really remember, but I'm definitely excited for this.
yeah, it's definitely again where I've been watching all these review videos and stuff, and like going on to other YouTubers that do like content, Dune related content and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They've I think it's helped immensely is obviously you got Denis Villeneuve with his his eye, and you've got some great cinematography going on in there,
Yeah.
like with Blade Runner 2047 or whatever it was, or 2049.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's right. Because I really like that visual in there too.
so you can see bits like the bit at the start where you have the harvester in like the
Yeah.
sandstorm thing. That was definitely like looked like it reminded me of 2049.
We
Um,
can't like I I don't even know. You probably don't even know either. But we can't like play the trailer on this, can we? Like, can I switch my? I don't know if like YouTube has a policy of like you can't show it, or I don't know how that works. Because I'd like to bring up my screen and just play the trailer and then talk about it, but I don't know how they do that.
um, well, because it's as a sort of review thing. So if it's on YouTube already, all you're doing is just showing YouTube's footage, I think,
I
uh,
know. So I'm gonna
on
wait,
their
or else
channel.
I would just totally play it and I was like, you know what? I don't know. They'll be like, well, you used our sounds and now you're under arrest.
But that's all these like reaction videos. They play the video.
Yeah. And I know,
The,
I
the,
think like sometimes they break it up. I don't even know. But yeah, I definitely, I was thinking about that and I was like, well, play it and talk about it. Cause a lot of it, I forget, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, wait, is this that character and that? So like, gosh, that stuff was incredible.
yeah, the thing that I've I keep on coming back to and thinking like, hold on a sec, did I just see that right? Do you know when um, you see that the missiles firing and kind of coming down and hitting the troops,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Oh, a
In that,
centaur looking thing?
bingo,
Okay, see, that's what I thought I saw too. And I was like, wait a second.
because it's the motion of his upper torso. Because you see that something behind him.
Yeah.
So like, is he like just wedged into something and he's just like stuck there, or is he like a centaured or mechanical monstrosity or something? You know, if that's like an old Harkonnen sort of thing that they like. I know we're going to stick this dude in a centaur leg to teach him.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, but it definitely looks like, because the way his upper torso moves just reminded me of like when you see centaurs in like fantasy films and like Harry Potter.
Yeah. That's okay. See, so that's what I thought too.
Hmm. So centaurs, we're on the same level here. So it probably isn't.
I know, that's what I mean, because I thought that's so funny, because I was like, as soon as you said that scene, I was like, wait a second, yeah, I remember that coming down. I remember something that totally looked like a centaur.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, I'm
but
gonna,
like the other guys in the background look normal, but that one's in the foreground. And it's like
yeah,
it's a little like, let's put this in here, and they'll just maybe notice it, or maybe notice they won't. But it's definitely something I picked up on, and I screen capped it. So
yeah, but you're right. Well, I haven't like done a deep dive online, but I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere. So we could be breaking
we've
news.
broken the news.
We can
Yeah,
claim it. We can just claim it. It doesn't matter.
Dune centaurs.
The,
Dune.
but I don't remember. Okay, I didn't read the book, obviously. So is anything in the book like that?
Nothing. Not sausage. Um, Obviously, the only things you have, like obviously, whether or not it was something that was made by like Ixians.
Okay.
The you are the In the Dune universe, you have Ix, which is a planet that makes or has rediscovered sort of artificial intelligence and stuff like that. Although
Oh,
you're not allowed to have artificial intelligence, but they have thinking machines, um,
gotcha.
and technology, because that was the whole thing about in the past of the Dune universe. You had the Butlerian Jihad, where there was the war against machines. So you weren't allowed to have AI, basically. Uh,
Gotcha.
but so you have Ix, and then you have Benny Phalanx, which is mentioned in David Lynch's movie, where I think it's when Paul Atreides is going through all the different planets, and he mentions
Oh, yeah.
Benny Phalanx is this planet, which I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, Benny Phalanx are basically cloners. Um, they use biological technology to recreate, because that they become a bigger thing in the follow-on books, with the production of what they call golas, uh,
Okay.
and then you had the face dancers, which are basically their sort of assassins, infiltrators.
Okay. That,
Oh,
wow.
work
See, that's
as
what's even good. Hey, you workers, thanks for making it. We were just talking. We are all nerding out over Dune right now. So, and wait, so when you screen capped it, can you tell? Like, do you think it is a centaur? Or is it just kind of look that way? I mean, not that
well,
it's a centaur, but you know what I mean.
the with the screen cap, I'm just going to have a quick flick back to it, because it didn't come out that great. But I don't know if you'll be able to. Oh, see that well there, but it's definitely got.
Oh, wait. I'm going to zoom in on you real quick. Hang on. You're taking up the whole screen. You're going solo, Lee. Oh yes. Okay, so it does.
So it does look like you say, like the way he's positioned, the way he's looking up, because the
Yeah.
other guy is like ducking down, whereas
Yeah.
you can't duck down. So so he's either like welded into a machine,
Yeah.
like in 40K,
Yeah.
you have those oh, they're Adeptus Mechanicus have these dudes, destroyers or whatever, and they're like just bodies on top of tank tracks, basically. Um,
Oh
so
yeah. I know which ones.
that's what I'm thinking with them. But he definitely looks like a centaur in
Okay,
my.
yeah, no, I mean, from that screenshot, it looks like unless it's some totally tricky thing, but it's still as soon as I saw it move, I thought it looked like a centaur type thing moving. I think that caught my eye during the preview even before the actual like structure of it.
Yeah. No, so it was that, and then obviously being blown away by the soundtrack because um, I was again when I've been diving through looking for snippets of information about Dune and watching all these reaction
Yeah,
videos and stuff. Um, a lot of them because they were saying about Hans Zimmer has basically he is as much a fan as Denis Villeneuve of Dune, and
yeah,
he actually apparently, obviously being a great composer, actually invented an instrument for playing whatever within those like the sounds and the soundtracks and stuff. So he actually
yeah.
created for this movie. Um, so yeah, it's just fantastic. When you get passionate people involved in a project.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
and you know what? I was watching. I just saw it like yesterday in the evening, and it's on Netflix. It's like the movies we loved, or I forget what it's called, but it shows like the kind of like a 1 hour long story of how the movie got made. And I
mm,
watched one of those like on whatchamacallit, Die Hard, and it was just kind of cool to see like, they talked about the different phases and that. And I was like, man, maybe one day they'll have something kind of about like one of these movies or the other Dune one or something.
yeah, but there will be. There'll be. That's all part of the parcel nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah,
Really.
that's very true.
But the with 'cause I was saying that I was actually watching the making of Aliens.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
which Aliens again is one of those sort of films that are just everybody loves generally,
Hmm.
uh, and it was seeing behind the scenes, seeing what they actually went through to get things done, like Sigourney Weaver, Carrie Henn who played Newt. They formed a
Yeah.
bond, like proper sort of like all the things and tricks and tips that they were doing, which are made well. Studio execs, like there was this one scene, and they're saying, "Hold on a sec, this is building these sets are going to be like astronomical sort of thing. You're going to have to rein yourself in." And
Yeah.
like, I mean, there is no set. We've done a paint over here, and then that's actual thing, and then we just did this sort of thing, and like it's like, oh well, carry on then.
Then go ahead.
Yeah. So it's yeah, it is great to see those little things where you see behind the curtain. So like the Wizard of Oz, you see what he's up to, and
Yeah.
you go from there.
And I didn't know, like, the Bruce Willis, that was like his first. He had two kind of half mediocre movies before that one, and then just landed it. And it was like, all the big stars had turned it down already. You know what I mean? All the Arnolds and the Stallones and all those had turned it down. Did you?
Yeah,
We had talked about it, but I can't remember. Did you ever watch the one for? Oh God, we do this every time I talk about this movie. The one that's like Star Trek, but it's Sigourney Weaver, and it's kind of a
oh, yeah,
comedy.
that's Galaxy Quest. Yeah,
Did you see the one for that?
I haven't seen the making of it. No,
Oh gosh, go yeah, watch that. I think it's
yeah, on YouTube.
Amazon or something.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So
good one.
but yeah, no, so I do like seeing those sort of things, especially like on films that had that sort of special place in your heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hearing all these little sort of like, oh, yeah, this happened, and they got this scene done by
Yeah.
sacrificing some chickens, you know.
Yeah, a lot of like it goes to show you, just on some of those movies where I was watching, it's like a lot of just like random happenstance and everything makes it happen. You know what I mean? Like, oh, someone said this and it reminded them of that, and then that happened, and it just goes to show sometimes like it's not even like Die Hard was a great movie, but it all just like came together because they were like rewriting the script as they were filming and everything.
Yeah, but there's some films where they start filming with just the basic outline.
Yeah.
And, I don't know which one it was, but there was like one film. Then they didn't really even have a script for it. It was it's like, and you just hear that and you go, well, how the hell did they do it then? You know, you would get the
Mechanical
story.
Frog, if you, I think you're just joining us now. I don't know if you saw the Dune trailer. Did you think there was like a centaur-looking creature when the rockets were fired and hit? Like, let me know if you would type that in there because I'm curious to hear if you saw it and if you think you saw centaur-looking things. Oh wait, I gotta put on my special pen tip so I'm quieter. Technology, yo.
Your pen prophylactic.
Yeah, dude. Oh,
You get
see?
that one.
Look at the difference.
I don't know.
Technology.
Are you
Technology.
still
The
there?
Empire
Are you
has
still
it.
there? I can't hear you. He's got stealth mode, everybody. Oh, he
Yeah.
is there. I think he's moving.
We've gone stealth mode.
Full on stealth. Mm.
Oh man.
So yeah, it's
And wait, when is it supposed to come out now? Dune, it got pushed
October
back.
22nd.
Wait, say that again?
October 22nd.
Okay, so not too far.
Not a million miles away, but still a while.
Yeah. I hope everything's going right. They're probably still rushing production or something.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think he's had obviously having
Oh,
it put
that's
back,
right. Yeah.
so he's had plenty of time to sort of tweak things and stuff, and that's probably what's helped with the the soundtrack and um, bits and pieces like that. Because funny enough, um, I my friend does a podcast with his buddy called "It's a Chat,"
Okay.
um, and they started it because of their love of Star Wars.
Okay.
And recently, I've been going through their backlog of podcasts and stuff, and they just in the ones I just listened to, um, they've gone through they've gone through all the movies basically, prequels, originals, sequels.
Okay.
When you're listening to them talk about like the sequels, the last three, because Paul, who's Mike Scott's friend who runs it,
Gotcha.
he works in the film industry, and he was just saying like, from what they knew, it's just like when Disney bought the rights for Star Wars and all that sort of thing, that they just basically said like, okay, we're going to have these movies, the sequels come out, we're going to do them within like a couple of years, and
Yeah.
and he's saying like they've just rushed things, and it's just like like, they got like Lawrence Kasdan to sort of write, which is like a renowned script writer. Done like obviously he worked in the original films and others since then, but it was just like everything was just rushed and things would
Because they're
change.
trying to get that money back probably really
Yeah,
quick.
like 4.4 billion they
Which,
paid.
you know what blows my mind is at the around the same time, like Candy Crush sold for like more than Star Wars, dude. So the makers of Candy Crush sold, and that blew my mind. I was like, wait a second, Candy Crush sold for more money than the whole Star. Like I was like, Star Wars is like an institution, you know what I mean? And I'm like Candy Crush. I'm like they'll be making all kinds of different games, and it sold for more than Star Wars. That blew my mind.
Yeah, I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe um, was as much. Um, I'm trying to think because they were telling there's like little facts that they were saying because there was
Yeah,
another which I can't remember which one it was. But I think Marvel was about 4.3
yeah,
billion. And there was one that was sold for about 7 billion, but I don't know who that was.
yeah.
Um, so it might have been Fox. I don't know. But you know, they rush through things, and unlike the MCU where you had like the one person in charge pushing
Hmm.
things through, Kevin Feige, whatever his name was, and they were working over a set period, because obviously they were surprised by Iron Man's success,
Yeah.
how successful that was, and that obviously instigated, all right, we'll make a second one, and then maybe we'll do some other sort of superheroes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Because up until then, they hadn't had much luck, like
No, and Iron Man was a crash course. That was
yeah,
such a massive success and like brilliant and everything. They were probably like, "Oh my god, hello, Blood
hey,
Medusa." I think yeah, these are Blood Medusas, I believe. Yeah, this is the three. Yeah, these were. I picked them. I was like, I kind of want to do. I don't know what in the background yet, and just have. I was like, it's not a ton of detail, but I love the colors. So I'm like, all right, I just want to play up the colors and then have like some background. And these are, it's Zinch, right? These are Zinch, not Slana.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I kind of wanted to do something with that, and that's why one of these I picked. I was just like, I love the how I don't know, just like bright. And they were like a good angle, so I wanted to try something with these.
you know, she does a lot of like Zinch and these sort of very colourful. Because Zinch is the most probably the most fabulous of all
Yeah,
the.
like the bird, like the what is it, Lords of Change?
Yeah, exactly. They've got I'm going to have these as blue. I'm going to have these ones as pink. These
Yeah,
ones as green. And they mix them all up, sort of thing. And she does do a fantastic work with all of her like painting that she undertakes. Um, but yeah, it is very, very vibrant, and you would expect that because the way
yeah.
I see the warp, there's probably colours in the warp that we could never even imagine exist.
You know what? True, good point.
And let's throw them all together on this guy. That'll be fine.
Yeah,
Let's give him some
and,
extra eyes and some arms and
like
fins.
inventing some new color.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's what it's all about. And you know, where it's Nurgle, yeah, it's always gonna be like mushrooms and greens sort
Yeah,
of thing. Corn's gonna be red. And then Slanesh, obviously he's associated with pink and whatever, but Slanesh can be
yeah. Slanesh can go a lot of different ways because it's like excess kind of
Slanesh.
thing.
But yeah, I know they all have their like colours associated with them, sort of thing. But I would always imagine that Zench, because Zench is my sort of favourite sort of chaos deity. Because
Yeah,
I
I
like
could see
chaos.
that. It's like
So, but yeah, it's actually I've got some pink horrors I need to paint up. I've had them for about 8 years. I tried painting them, but that was about it, really. But yeah, no, it's definitely a very sort of great palette that she uses with these. Um,
I
so
know that's what a lot of them I do like this. I'm like, I don't know what color. You can see I laid down like a pink first, and then I put that was the background, and I was like, well, I had to darken it. And I was like, okay, it looks. I like the tealish background, and I'm like, it'll make the little like what like the fang looking type things pop, on the eyes. But then I'm like, well, is it too much the same? And so I might like put some since it is the of change, put like a color almost like a different not rainbow effect, but like prism effect. You know what I mean? So it's like maybe
yeah,
have like some prism coming off there.
yeah, no, that could work for sure.
But a lot of times, what is it? Your reach is greater than your grasp or whatever. It's like, yeah, I want all these cool things, but just sometimes you can't really pull it off.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to experiment, see which works, and you want them to sort of not. It's just weird. Sort of not sort of like you want them to stand out, but then you don't want to go
Yeah.
over the top with making them standing out because then it's
Hmm.
not so realistic looking. So you want to keep sort of, as I say, like having the very subtle colours there. Oh,
Yeah,
was it?
yeah. Just get them in there so you can kind of do it, and that's why. Gosh, there were so many good ones this week, and like that is always the bummer. You can't do them. There was a couple, and some of them I'm looking through, and then it's weird because a lot of times on Twitter, they won't pop up, but then I'll go to another device and scroll, and then I'll see ones I didn't see scrolling on the other one. And I'm like, wait, what a second? So I'll pick some, I'll load it up, and then like later I was switching on the other device. I was like, how did I not see this? You know, and I was like, so I grabbed. I never did one of these either, and this was a great shot because they already had some of that shadow on there, and I
Yeah.
really liked it because it favored the blast. So I was like, all right, I want to do. I don't remember. Does his gun shoot a specific color? Like, do you know if it'd be like a green or would that be overplayed? Is he a plasma or is it like his?
I think you'd be safe with some sort of like greenish sort of unlight type thing, really. You know,
Okay,
it's all corrupted with Mortarion.
yeah.
Uh,
So okay, good. So I might do something a little cover different on that because I was just like, I don't know. And then I know he's got the gas. I think on this model, is this green area like as far as you can tell, is this like, like a gas type deal where it's like coming down? I don't know.
it looks like it's like someone's patched some skin together or something.
Yeah, that one looks like it has teeth, but I didn't, or if it's like a cape or is it like, because
Could be
see,
like
I see the green coming out of here and I'm like, okay, I think that's supposed to be like flame gas type deal. And this looks really cool. And I'm just like, I just wanted to get it right. I'm like, is it like that? Or is it like, maybe it's just like the flesh still hanging?
it's like where they're just patched together um, stuff to make his
Hmm.
out.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I
that's the thing.
love
Everyone
these.
interpretations of Mortarion.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that's I know that's the one thing I love about the 40K stuff with a lot of these models. He says the green is gash.
um, well, over here, gash doesn't necessarily mean
Yeah,
it's good. Um,
gas. Yeah. Okay, so the green is gas. Okay.
oh, there you go. It's gas.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah. Well saved, workers.
is this yours, workers? When people switch names, I can never quite get it back.
Yeah,
The
I know. Well, apart from obviously Blood Producer, because I know Blood Producer.
Yeah, that was the same one. So I was glad she.
But yeah, you just say it's quite hard sometimes. Even on my stream as well. I just like I'm talking to this person and I don't know who they are, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah, when you've had like a total conversation with someone for a while, you're like, wait, who are you? And I've done it where,
there's one guy who's like one of the regulars. He's got like three different names, like
yeah,
Instagram, and then obviously Twitter,
yeah, same.
YouTube. So it's like, oh, it's you, yeah.
This thing is really cool because I liked it a lot. It just, okay, his gun, is there any specific color that it would be firing? Is it like a bile plasma gun or like what? Because I might
It
do
was,
like a,
it's laser weaponry. It was called the Lantern.
okay,
Uh, so it was like a beam of like pure light initially. That's what it
okay.
called. I think it was made by Vulcan for,
Oh, interesting.
um, and yeah, it was. They called it Lantern, um,
Okay.
or the Lantern. But yeah, you could go with something like that with a bit of a greener sort of like
Yeah.
for the corruption or something. But or even that actually, that color wasn't actually too bad to be fair. But it was like illuminating the
A
the
little bit.
unclean. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, like it's a little like I don't even know what, but it's still bright, but it
Yeah, but it's got a dirty brightness.
yeah,
Feel
that's it because it's like so
different.
he says green is usually associated with it, and I'm like I'm almost going green, but it's like a real brighted out. You know what I mean? I'm like I'll put a little layer over it, but I kind of want a little bit of that yellow,
Mm.
almost more like
Sort of
biley.
differentiate it to make it sort of stand out itself as well, haven't you? Really?
Let me see this. I bought brushes and I didn't load them up yet. Where? Yeah, like that. that in there. All right, and this one I bit off kind of more than I could chew for the show with this one because it's so cool. And then some of these, like especially a big model like this, it has so much detail. I always want to go and be like, oh, light the shoulder pads all right, and then light the arm gauntlet. And then when you're doing it, it's like, oh, the hoses and all the little highlight pieces you could put on this, you know? It's like, oh my gosh, I stare at these and it's like more and more detail. I love the little, I don't know what he's got, these whatever these little flying flies.
Cherubs type thing.
Yeah, Nurgling cherubs, I'm down.
So, say when this first came out, I was because I remember the back in Epic days, they actually released Epic scale
Oh,
trade.
yeah, I remember that.
Mortarion was basically the Grim Reaper, but with wings, and it was like just a long, slender figure with the wings like up above it, sort of like wind, like up, and but yet not displayed, sort of thing.
I
Uh,
got you.
with his scythe and stuff, and that's what I was kind of hoping for. But it came out. I thought, oh, it's not quite what I remember.
Yeah.
Um, but after seeing like several dozen,
Yeah.
versions of Mortarion, it is definitely, you think, yeah, no, it actually does look really good.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously,
Sometimes it just takes you a while. You see, okay, yeah, those are cool.
like Richard Gray's one, which he entered in for like Golden Demon, the Slayer sword and stuff. I think he
Yeah.
actually did it. Which he'd hand painted like eyes on the wings.
Oh, yep, I remember that. That was
I actually saw that at Salute back in, I think it was either 2018 or 2019.
gotcha.
Uh, but it looked absolutely magnificent. Um, and my friend Bradlad's, she painted her one, but she done it with her own color palette, so it's like oranges and greens,
Yeah.
and that got sort of shown off on sort of like Warhammer TV. And again, Mortari can do whatever the hell he wants because he's Mortarian. Um,
Yeah.
he accepts corruption in all its forms.
But you know what? Very true. I love the gas mask on this one.
Mm. Where he's always had breathing problems.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah,
I thought for the longest time, and I think it was just the name, for the longest time, I thought Fabius Bile was Nurgle. I was like, oh yeah, he's experimenting on people, and it didn't even. And I had been seeing him and all that for a while, and it didn't even occur to me. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, I seen someone post about it. I'm like, he's not Nurgle. I thought for the like last I don't even know like year that he was like all Nurgle. And like every time I see him, I'm like, okay, yeah, he's got the cancers, this that, and then found out he wasn't. I was like, wow, I missed the boat on that.
so that's the thing. Emperor's Children had a lot of apothecaries, and
Yeah.
he was like, the best of the best sort of thing, because the Emperor's Children was all about perfection, and through his
Oh yeah.
pursuit of perfection, he would experiment on.
That's yeah, because I see. I even remember reading or talking about that, and it just totally slipped my mind again. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, he's also known as Fabulous Bill.
Yeah, Blood Medusa saw that one from Richard Gray at Warhammer World.
Yeah, he's just such a beautiful, rendition of Mortarion sort of thing. In his many guises as the Plague Lord, the
Yeah,
Lord of Decay. Um, but yeah, I've seen loads of people who have done Mortarion, and they've all done him justice in one shape or another.
yeah,
But yeah, you say it's down to your personal sort of skill, technique level sort of thing, and like some people have that within their toolbox.
yeah.
Other people don't, sort of thing. But you do the best you can, and as long as you're happy with it, that's the main thing.
Well, yeah, and they, a lot of these, if you're some just extra lend their style to it more. Like some certain style might really like go towards this nurgly type thing.
no, totally, yeah. But
Perspective.
so I was on my drive home, I just stopped off at a garage and just grabbed food and just stuffed
Oh,
myself.
did you?
Yeah.
Did you eat it or did you need to eat it? You can always pause and eat.
No, I ate it. Don't worry about that.
No, it's gone. Medusa, what are you working on now? What's your newest thing you're working on?
You all know what I'm working on.
What are you working on? I mean, I know what it is, but what, like, Warhound or Warlord or.
Well, actually, no, the last thing I've built was actually a building for Titanicus. So it's what I posted on Tuesday. Um, so it's just I was using all the last parts of the kits, building kits that I had, and just basically just built one big sort of like factory type building to help hide some of the bigger Titans. So there's that. But I've got and I had an idea today where I want to redo the base of my side Titan.
Okay.
So basically, currently the base it's standing on is pretty. When I look at it, it's like it's a bit crap, really. They're just like
Well, sometimes too, you just get better.
yeah,
You get something
and
down, you're like, oh wait, I should really do that.
it's got his foot lifted to stand on top of a building like this, like a bunker type building, sort of like so you can imagine it's like a concrete,
Yeah.
basement. And then it's got some rubble and a small epic rhino that I had. So I painted that up as Iron Warriors.
Okay.
But I am now wanting to remove certain stuff and basically put down some corrupted Titan bodies on the floor. So it's like this side Titan's just gone wading through a load of like corrupted Titans or sort of traitor Titans and just annihilate them as just walking through on them. Ooh,
Oh, Blood Medusa is working on an Emperor's Children Rhino and a Commission Orc War Boss.
nice.
An Emperor's Children. I love rhinos. Are such the classic 40K vehicle to me.
Yeah. I'm um I'm assuming the Emperor's Children are like 40k Chaos ones, aren't they? Because there's me just like as soon as someone says Emperor's Children, I'm like, oh hello. um,
Yeah.
I have obviously my collection of 30k Emperor's Children,
Oh
um,
yeah.
which I'm still increasing on every now and again. But yeah, it's Emperor's Children is just awesome. Just love the whole yeah, purple and
Yeah.
just glorious.
The first Marines. Wait, I don't know how old I was, a teenager, but early teens. I did. There were the normal Space Marines. There were the first release of like the metal ones. I think there was some in there, and I painted them purple and black. I did like 3 or 4 of them. And I just like made up something, and I'm like, it wasn't based on anything. It was just like I grabbed the colors, like, oh, do them this way, and I did like purple and black on them.
Why not? Why
You
not
know,
indeed?
it wasn't attached to. Over time, the Space Wolves grew on me
Yeah,
for
they do
like
that.
second edition, and that when they started coming out, I like those.
Well, that's the thing. We all everybody has their like favorite like chapter.
Yeah.
Like I remember asking my friends many years ago. They like if you were a space marine, what would be your chapter? And like you had Space Wolves, Imperial Fist, Dark Angels, sort of thing. And like I was like Ultramarine. From,
Okay.
as
It
I've said before about the artwork that inspired.
the one I wouldn't take is I wouldn't take. I love the look of these ones, but what is it? Is it the Iron Fists who are the defensive masters?
Imperial Fists are yeah.
Imperial Fist. I wouldn't take anything defensive because then you're already screwed and being pinned down. I'd rather take the offensive ones because then you might be able to retreat and get away. But if you take the defensive ones, it's like you ain't got nowhere to run.
Um, Blood Producer was just apologising for him being 40k. You don't have to apologise to me. It's fine.
Yeah, no doubt.
I do like 40k Emperor's Children. I love 30k Emperor's Children, and I do appreciate and adore the 40k one. So it's all good. All good.
Yeah, for the last like year and a half, I thought Fabius Bile was Nurgle, so
Fabulous Nipple.
no
Or my
apology.
favourite Primarch name alteration, which was for Perturabo. One of the guys from Forge World, at one of the open days I went to, guy called Paul Rudge, who is like, he does like the decals, designs and stuff like that.
Okay.
And he called him Peter Turbo, and it just stuck in your head. You just, you hear a name.
You'd never get that one out. You'd be like, oh, now he's all Peter Turboed out.
Yeah, he's all Peter Turbo. But yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about now. I'm just distracted. Yeah, so Imperial Fist, right? Now, I never had. Yeah, Rogel Dawn, I knew of. I respected him as a Primarch sort of thing. But once because obviously he only has bit parts throughout most of the Heresy sort of thing. You see him in earlier books, you see him in between, and little scenes. Let's cut to Terra, where Rogel Dawn is talking to somebody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True that, because he's just like there during all that stuff. Yeah.
But in the latter parts of the siege, or the latter parts of the Heresy, in his book Praetorian of Dawn, once you read a book and suddenly you just see this Primarch in a whole new light.
I could see that because they get their time to shine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like he's always been like a stalwart. He's always been there. Yes, he's the master of siege. Like him and Peter Turbo, rivals for the same position.
Yeah.
Siege warfare and all that, the defensive work. Where like Peter Turbo embodies the sort of like World War One, throw enough men at a problem, and it's sort of thing, as well as siegecraft and all that sort of stuff. Which was quite funny because in the book Angel Exterminatus, where you have him and Fulgrim going off on an adventure, he's doing this war game, like simulated war games of the Siege of Terror on his, like, because all these war smiths and like captains are playing these games. Like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to run the Siege of Terror battle, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Perturabo has a go, and he plays it, and basically as a loyalist, and the palace holds.
Okay. Oh yeah. So they gotcha. If a what if type deal.
Yeah, sort of thing. So it was like quite good seeing that, and he does have quite a sad sort of story because he considered himself like an artist.
Yeah.
But he's been given all the crap jobs, and obviously after all that time, it's just whittled him down.
Yeah.
To being this like bit of an arsehole. He had all this in his personal sort of chambers. He had all this like marvelous like opera houses designs and stuff that he'd built models of, and
Oh yeah, because he was really into that, and then didn't get to like execute any of it, and it wore on him.
Yeah. So and basically, he just in the end, that's why it sort of turned him against the Emperor. He was just basically, getting all the sort of crap. But as I said, with Dawn, and to be fair, the Emperor was deliberately playing the brothers off against each other.
Yeah.
Because of reasons. So obviously Dawn and Perturabo always at like heads because of the sort of like the nudging and all that.
Yeah.
But when you sort of read Praetorian of Dawn, and then as you come into the Siege of Terror books, Dawn is something else. He really, he deserves So sort of like the respect that he does just deserve it, you know,
Yeah.
and his legion, because they just, you know, they do what they have to.
Because yeah, and that's like a big deal, you know what I mean? They're like
Oh,
defending the whole thing, and it's like, okay, yeah, if you're responsible for like the last stand almost.
but yeah, 10 years to prepare for it. But when you've got like, because in the Siege of Terror, basically Perturabo's the mass tactician. He's the one who gets the forces of the traitors into the Sol system, and then he gets them onto Terra. You know, and he's like sitting wired up to this like the battle computers and like operating everything. You know,
Oh yeah, because that's what all the stuff with his head is.
yeah. So he's like he's wired in there, and he's conducting a planet-wide and system, well, mostly planet-wide assault of
Yeah,
Terra. You know, um, but you know, when you've got people like Horus and his warriors, and you've got the World Eaters with Angron, and you've got, although the Emperor's children didn't really do much, they they spent a lot of the siege having fun. Um, they did deploy a couple of times, which were quite impressive, and were repulsed by Dawn. Um, but yeah, it's great. Like I said, the Siege of Terror books in particular are just really fantastic to read. Like, you know, even if you don't read the entire horror
yeah,
series,
yeah,
which, you know, is a bit of a shame, because there are, you know, if you've travelled the road of the heresy, there's like Dan Abnett's book Saturnine. There's some real great scenes in that which are payoffs from things from earlier. So, you know, although it's like, you know, you can read it separately and just go, oh, that's pretty brutal.
yeah.
If you've read the heresy, you go, ah, and like, you know, it's a nice little thing for you to enjoy. The miniature apothecary, hello. I'm going to chat with Blood Medusa. Everyone, wave to everyone. Hello. Um, evening doctrine workers. Oh, why are we talking about Primarchs?
We were
I,
talking about everything, and we were
oh,
debating. I
yeah.
guess I have to look into that because I think I would really like to do that preview thing, like we were talking about. Like if I could show part of the Dune thing and watch it as we talk about it. So I'll look up the kind of YouTube rules and see what they have to say.
Yeah, so yeah, miniature apothecary. We've been talking about Dune for the start. We got on to we talked about chaos because of Medusa's Zench flyers there, and the we were talking about Primarchs because Mortarion workers Mortarion was has been flitted on. And yeah, we were just talking about Primarchs and just continued talking about Primarchs for about 5-10 minutes so far. So yeah, it was
Yeah, by
have
the way, good picture. This was a really cool photo. I was like, all right. I'm like, I like, I haven't seen too many like with people fighting, and I like the pose of that the corn, you know. And I was like, okay, you could. It's like maybe he gets the shot off, maybe he doesn't. You know what I mean? I was like, we'll see how this. I was like, he's super close, so you could pop that, but maybe like just maybe his like jacked up one misses it or whatever. And
yeah
the cool I just liked it against the door. Usually I like the open background so I can do whatever, but I was like, all right, you know, when something, I'm the type of person who like if I don't think I can do it or don't know how, I'd like, okay, just do it. Like don't like go away from it. Like go do the ones, like especially on a show like this, just like do the ones you don't know how quite how you would tackle, or you know, you don't know what you would do, and then just like try something, you know.
mm, yeah, no, definitely. I'm trying to see if that gun's actually a plasma or if it's a Volkite. I think it's a
Oh,
plasma.
this one.
Yeah. So the plasmas at close range would literally just remove anything's face easily.
Oh,
So
so they just like a straight death ray, huh?
yeah, well, you say
Well,
at
yeah,
point blank
plasma.
range of a plasma pistol, it's not going to leave anything.
Wait, did
Even a
they
Volkite.
had plasma in two? I know Melta, they had the Melta guns. Is a did they have plasma in two, and why can't I remember it? I don't Yeah, they had plasma rifles and shit, I
Yeah, well,
think.
that's the whole thing. Like plasma guns is like it used to be kind of a death sentence in some respects because if you rolled a one to shoot with it,
That's yeah.
uh, you would lose your arm or your face or whatever. Oh, it is a
Yeah.
so Volkites are different to plasma. Volkites will basically incinerate the shit out of you and just leave like a charred, smouldering, dust-filled hole
Okay.
sort of thing.
And that's
Against
a new one, right? That's got to be because of the upgrades.
hmm. Yeah, we'll say Volkites were. Um, see, originally Volkites were more prominent around in the heresy,
Oh.
and like with many things, like Volkites, like when the Horus Heresy series come out, Volkites started showing up as a weapon, and you
Okay.
didn't have much in the way of graviton weapons initially. So graviton was like new technology at the time of the heresy, and then in 40k, graviton is more prevalent than Volkites was.
All
Um,
right. King
so
Crimson, thanks for making
Crimson.
it. He's been a busy man lately. And he missed the show where I was painting over his whatchamacallits, the Necrons. I finished that one up.
Yeah, that was last week, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then we went. Okay, so wait, anybody who's in here who watched the Dune preview, tell us if you thought you saw like centaur looking things when all the rockets land and they have a brief flash. It looks like there's like a centaur looking creature in the front. So whoever watched that, let us know, because me and Lee and I both came to the same conclusion independently. So we're either geniuses, genius for seeing the obvious, take it, make
Yeah,
wild
very
claims,
loose, very loose.
or we're both way off base.
Yeah, it was. It's so hard because, like, where I keep on thinking, like, am I seeing too much into this thing? Because I would like it to be a centaur. I don't know why. I just think it'd be just cool.
I know, just because, and I thought the same, like, oh, do they have some like whatever kind of weird thing? And I was like, interesting, but me too. That's why I'm like, am I trying to make something out of it? I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, there's like wish listing stuff. You know,
Combat centaurs coming
yeah,
at you.
yeah. It's obviously we've obviously got some sort of like repressed
Yeah.
fantasy of centaurs. Or,
And it could, and still, what I think the other reason I was all hyped is, and this is like not related to it at all, but it's still tied in, is because the other time we were talking about the Eldar had those like centaur looking like
oh
knights.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Erus, thanks for making it.
Something that Crimson just mentioned. He thought he saw a no ship. You didn't. No ships don't turn up until much, much later, after the God Emperor's time. So
Huh.
they appear in Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune because of reasons.
I hope I hope it all goes good now, because I'm like, man, all right, I want to see the rest of this
Bruce!
already. I want to make sure it gets made.
What, continue all the way through the book?
Yeah, yeah. I don't want no like one movie thing and then you don't get to see the whole whatever.
I know. And it would be nice because obviously they tried it with Sci-Fi Channel when it was doing the TV
Yep.
uh, movies and stuff. And sorry, I'll take this out of my head. Uh, with the I enjoyed the TV movies. I took them for what they were, but then I was
Yeah,
comparing
yeah.
to David Lynch's Dune, and it just wasn't sort of matching up to my tastes.
No, totally, I could see that.
But 5,000 years later, actually, I think it's actually later than that, because I think the original books of Dune covers about 12,000 years, and Leto the second
Really?
was
And I know we talked about this one, but because my mental acuity is so far off these things, what is the one that's coming to Amazon that is like some super space epic?
that's Foundation. Isaac
Okay.
Asimov. And get a calm down Chewie from the miniature apothecary. How rude! I'm actually looking forward to, in October. My friend Brian Jenkins has a birthday in October, and we go around for his house for a weekend, and we do Star Wars role play for the weekend.
Oh, cool.
But he builds like a gaming table and all the people, ships, and stuff
Yeah.
the adventure takes place on. So last year, I'll send you some pictures of the table he made. But I played a Wookiee called Grabo or Grubbo, and I was only allowed to play a Wookiee if I only spoke in Wookiee. I
That's
did.
funny. Yeah. So I did.
But one of my play, he teamed me up with someone. It was basically like a budget version of Chewie and Han.
The budget version.
We were. I just went around eating porgs on a stick. I created a new meal for everybody in the Star Wars universe. You know, pork on a stick.
Pork on a stick.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, barbecue pork.
Forward.
Yeah. But I would literally go and like make noises, and he would say, "Well, what did you say?" I said, "All right, this is what I'm saying." So he was my translator, but I called every human Dave because they all spoke to me. Yeah, Dave over there did it. Dave with a glowy stick. That Dave. But yeah, it's just a great little weekend for us.
What was the?
Yeah, I'll post some pictures up of the table. Honestly, right? He goes above and beyond. For a games master, he goes well above.
Yeah. I wanted to ask? Okay, so I haven't for Adeptus Titanicus. Have you seen any like crazy cityscape boards where someone like really like I've seen them for like Necromunda, I've seen them for 40K. Did anyone ever go like really crazy and like put a whole bunch of buildings and they're all like ornate and everything? Did you? I haven't really seen anything online. It's like I haven't done a deep dive, but I haven't seen any like crazy cities just pop up in any of my feeds.
Well, Forge World used to do table like board sections for Adeptus Britannicus. So
Okay.
there was all to scale, had like crass Xiphon fighter jets and other things all like battered and all that. And then you'd stick the plastic kits onto like buildings and all that.
Okay.
So you could fill up and do lots of like interesting scenic sort of work with that. But there is a company called Grimdark, who Grimdark Miniatures, I think, that basically they do like a membership thing. If you join
Yeah.
up on a monthly Patreon type thing, it's for 3D printing.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's where
Uh,
I think they were just like someone would really like just be cranking out future cities because they could do it far enough away where you wouldn't even have to worry about copyright or any of that stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's on Instagram. I think he's under the name Bronco Fish.
Okay,
Um,
I'll have to
he,
check it out.
yeah, he's got. He actually posts that on. If you check out Bronco Fish on Instagram, you'll see he had a battle recently, and he had all the scenery bits that he'd designed and printed off and painted.
Yeah.
They really do look quite impressive, you know. Hey, it's Rob and Oviton.
Yay,
Hello.
thanks for making it, everybody. Appreciate it. And if you don't mind, please hit that like button if you enjoy this right now while everyone's on. I got to get one of those in. A quick plug.
And if you really hate it, like it as well, because that really
Yeah. And if you hate it, hit like
our
button
place.
too.
That
And then
really
wait,
sells.
just because I have the power. Yeah.
Is it me?
And I know I gotta bring some more stuff in. I think. Oh, let me see what happens. This might cut it all out, but I want to see. Oh no, I'd have to do that. Never mind.
No, we're fine. Don't ruin it.
We're not gonna ruin it. We got people here. Don't ruin it.
Yeah, because that's what happened with the greatest show ever.
I know it did too.
Greatest show ever. Oh my god.
Got
That
canceled.
no one could ever touch the
We were
levels.
probably already gonna be famous and whatever, and I hit the button. I hit the off
Hollywood was
switch,
watching.
dude.
Hollywood was watching.
Yeah, Hollywood was there, and I hit the off switch.
Easily done.
Are you gaming tonight?
No, not tonight. So if you wanna hang around for longer, that's no problem with me. I'm Jesus. I'm already 2/3 my way through my third bud for the night. So,
Oh, we're gonna have a drunken Lee. Drunken Lee. How is everything between the heat and I don't know what degree of lockdown and everything is? Like, how are you hanging in there with all this stuff, dude?
um, well, they've lifted the lockdown restrictions on a lot of things. Um, although, like, the trajectory of stuff was going up again, and they still
Yeah,
open things up. So, um, obviously, like face masks aren't sort of compulsory as such.
yeah,
Although at work, me and my boss, we wear face masks because you know we don't want to be responsible for passing on
yeah.
and all that. Not a good advertisement for the company.
Well, and
Uh,
even like doing it's still like I could see that wearing because when it got hot out, oh my god, I'd be walking somewhere, not even like working. It's like all sweating inside the mask. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, you do that for months on end and be like, go a little crazy.
like I have friends who work in the medical profession. Like my little sister is a nurse, and she was
Yeah,
actually drafted into like the ICU at
yeah.
the hospital she's worked at. She's actually off at the moment, which is like she's 2 months ago she gave birth, so
Oh
she's got
wow.
another little
Dun, dun, dun.
nephew of mine running around. Um, so I actually met him for the first time last Thursday. So
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember you telling me. Okay,
yeah,
he's
so
gonna he wait till he gets his hands on your fun Titans.
yeah, I know that's what I'm worried
He's
about.
gonna he's gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, fun Uncle Lee. Well,
Yeah, I'm like Uncle Lee's the best. Watch this.
yeah. Watch this. I'm a subscriber before. I've done that before. Um,
Rob Walters said Rob is
oh, he's his
enjoying
first
some
character.
rum.
Here's to you, Overton. I hope it's not your last. And Rob's on the rum already. He does love a rum, that boy. So cheers to you as well.
So
Hope
Rob says that's right. He's getting the crazy warlord. He says, I am shamelessly on the rum already myself. Book rest of this week off in the hopes my warlord will show up tomorrow. Oh my gosh, dude. I can't imagine having one of those huge chunky things. I'm the type of person who would buy a warlord, spend all that money, and then I'd get it, be overwhelmed, and be like, okay, I just gotta put this downstairs somewhere. Forget about it.
well, the good thing with the Warlord is that it has some of the most comprehensive instructions.
Okay.
When they first came out, because the like the Reaver and the Warhound just basically got like a couple of A4 black and white printouts, and it weren't exactly like intricate. But
Yeah.
because of parts and stuff, they actually done like a proper like brochure of how to build the bloody thing, which is very very handy. But it does go together really really well. So yeah, obviously for a novice hobbyist, it would be incredibly overwhelming. But if you've got the bits and pieces and all the
Yeah.
kit, you know, it
I
is something
bought
that.
the one. What was Forge World something else before it was Forge World?
Or you're probably thinking of an armor cast.
So that's when I bought a Warhound back when it was Armor Cast, and I bought one of those. It was they had more of like the not oval but elongated carapace instead of the big square one.
Yeah, they were based on the epic um,
Yeah.
warhounds. So them and the Reavers they did. Uh, it used to be that if you had armor cast, you could actually still use them in Games Workshop stores. But I
Okay.
do know that a lot of blood producer.
Oh, chocolate milkshake. I the other day I went and I got ice cream and I got two scoops and I looked and I was like, I'm gonna do it and it was like I don't even know what it was like 1,100 or 1,200 calories. I'm like, oh my god, dude! Like you're half the day in one scoop of ice cream or two scoops.
Blood producer, you know what happens if you bring your milkshake to the yard?
Yes.
Boys turn up. It's something that should be looked into. I think there should be a governmental inquiry about the amount of boys that turn up when women are
From
drinking milk.
milkshakes, because I would
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Well, I did see an interesting meme the other day. Is that um, you shouldn't you shouldn't drink milkshake. You should actually have beer because then you bring all the older gentlemen to the yard, and then they'll probably mow it for you as well. Uh, Enjoy your milk. I love chocolate milkshake. It's my favourite of the shakes. The thicker the better. Um, yeah, it's I can't have those. Well, I like chocolate milk, but
I
a real thick shake. You know, the one that you sort of
Yeah.
hypothetically suck out the straw. Um, that's a quality shake.
There's this milk here, and it's like I don't even know what it is. Like I don't know how many pints it would be. What is this? That's like a pint. Maybe it's like a 2 pint thing of milk, right? And it's chocolate milk, but it is so rich. I think it's called Promised Land. It is so rich and thick, but it's like for 2 pints, it's like I don't know, like $4 or something. And I'm always like, okay, like get it, but my problem with things like that is I just want to down the whole thing at once. Like if you give me chocolate ice cream, it's like, oh man, I just want to like sit and eat that. And I do good, but it's like I don't like it there because I'm just more apt to go eat it. You know what I mean? I'm like, keep stuff away from me and then I like do better. Otherwise, it's like, oh man, let me pound that chocolate milk. And it'll be like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh, let me drink a bunch of chocolate milk right now.
Yeah, just when you saying about that, it actually reminds me of my favourite Elvis Presley story. This was regaled by one of his sort of like hangers on. This
Yeah.
he basically was writing a book about his time and friendship with the king. Um, and when he was in Las Vegas, there was this one like restaurant he used to go to because they'd done this burger, and I think it was something. It had a name like the Champagne Burger
Yeah. Yeah.
or something like that. And basically, it was like patty on top of patty on top of eggs, this, that, and the other. And it worked out to each one was like 2,500 calories.
Yeah.
It was a monster of a burger, right? And he'd eaten, I think it was on his second one
Yeah.
when he was ordering a third one. And this guy's gone, like, dude, do you think you've had enough? It's like that. And Elvis pulled a gun out on him.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's not.
I'll tell you when I have enough.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the life Elvis must have lived.
Oh dear, yeah.
Or
It's
who
just
else? Frank Sinatra. He must have really lived the life, dude.
oh,
Like
oh yeah.
he's just like all in some all kinds of stuff and whatever. I'm like, okay.
Wall or whatever it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
And there's like always a certain reverence to Sinatra that people have or whatever, you know?
Within the Italian crime family
Yeah.
and all that, and Las Vegas and stuff. Yeah, it would have been interesting to be around in those sort of situations. But then, from where we've seen these things, it's all through film, so it's all through that like rose tinted
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah. Then you're just some average dude who has regular problems. You just happen to be famous or whatever. You're like, no, this isn't
Yeah,
that
some
grand.
dude has regular problems, but in the 70s.
It's like you cut to Elvis eating his third cheeseburger, and you're like, oh, he's a schlep like everybody else.
But yeah, I love those little sort of stories that you hear, like not the like the big glamorous things, but the little sort of.
Yeah.
Again, it was Bruce Springsteen. Now, this was him actually telling the story where he was down in Tennessee, and he was down in Memphis, and like he was doing a gig. This is before he was like really famous.
Yeah, yeah.
And he basically bunked over the wall of Gracelands and went up to the door of Gracelands because he wanted to see if Elvis was in. So, and he goes up there and like knocks at the door, and this like security patrol guy just turns up and goes, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I just want to see if Elvis was in." And he goes, "No, he's not. He's somewhere or whatever." He goes, "Oh right, okay. Oh, that's a shame. Okay, I'll be going then. But can you just tell him that Bruce Springsteen like knocked for?"
Yeah.
And then like obviously probably like a couple of years later is when he made his big like proper breakthrough. But it's
Yeah.
those things where they you don't imagine Bruce Springsteen like leaping over this wall
No.
like a mile or so to Graceland's and knock on his door. Was it overtime? Ordering food out of spite used to be my favourite way to be angry, and done when my heart stops or I say so, whatever comes first. That is a legit thing to do, as Blood Medusa has said. Yes, I agree with her entirely there.
I was like, I used to be way more active, and then you sit around and kind of do art and stuff, and then I just wouldn't pay attention to anything you're eating. So you're like gaining weight. And I remember at one point, I had some donuts, and I never like I'm not like a big calorie counter, but now I realize if I generally keep around like 22 to 20, like say about 2,400 calories, and I just do moderate exercise, I'll kind of lose weight. You know what I mean? So I kind of just keep it in the back of my head. I'm like, oh, this is like, 300-400 calories, whatever. But anyway, I ate donuts, and then someone had talked to me like, oh, we just ended up talking about calories. I was like, yeah, I never really paid much attention. And I looked at the donuts. I had eaten two of them, and I think I might even had like some lemonade or whatever to wash it down, right? And each of those donuts was 800 calories. So it was like 1,600 calories just for two donuts. The lemonade probably put it to like 2,000. You know what I mean? I was probably like at almost a day's worth of calories just with two donuts and a lemonade. I was like, oh man. I'm like, okay, this because and if you would have asked me, I would have been like, oh yeah, I could eat like, you give me another hour, maybe I just want to, let me have one more donut. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, let me just have one more of these and be like, okay, and then I'll have some meals or some lunch or something. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude. So that
You
was
just
kind of like a little wake up call for me.
you,
I'm
you
like,
just reminded me of like Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction, when he said like,
yeah.
"Can I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this big Kahuna burger?"
Big kahuna burger. Yeah, they're not, do we know if there's another Dune trailer coming?
um, no, I think they normally. I don't think you normally have like two for most things.
That's what two, sometimes three, I think.
Yeah, so we had like the little teaser one last year, and then obviously this is pretty much the main one because that's like 3 minutes long. A lot of those reactions and people and all that. A
Wait,
lot,
I think Blood Medusa. I was talking about donuts, and I think Blood Medusa said worth it. when I talked about the calories from all the donuts. Totally. And thank you, Overton, for the you liking the duel. It was a great, it was a cool photo. I was like, well, I can put some blur on that. I don't know, like what is? I mean, it's a berserker. Is that a berserker? Corn berserker? I don't know.
It's something. It's
Yeah.
not. I don't think it's a standard sort of thing. Like
No. And you know what? Do we know the white? Is this like a white scar? I don't know who this white one is. If Miniature Apothecary is still here.
oh, is
Uh,
it? Is it?
yeah. See, Overton, that sounded like something with me. When I started counting calories, I was about at 4,000. Yeah, because you can just like eat. By the time you have a bag of chips and then a donut and whatever. You're just not like thinking about it. And
That's the thing. So I remember, like, I used to be able to eat. I've always, well, I used to be quite like stick insect type thing.
yeah.
Uh, and I remember, like, when over here you had the big tasty McDonald's big tasty burger.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
When they first came out, they were like, "Oh my god!" Like, I'm eating like a full, like, large meal, sort of
Yep.
super size meal. I've eaten it and I've gone, "Oh my god, that was so good! I could have another one of them."
Yeah.
I did, and no problem. It didn't even touch the side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Devoured. Um, I can't do that anymore.
No, and we're probably better off for it. It. I'll go through spurts. I'm okay with it. What gets me is if like I'm being like lazy with it, if I'm not getting like even moderate exercise, or then you just you go and it's like, okay, I'll have some food if it's around. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, be a little more. I've been a little more disciplined, and I was doing good. And then the lockdown, it just made me like kind of eat more, and I wasn't going to the store as much to buy healthy stuff to make. You know what I mean? So I was like buying stuff that would just kind of last. I wouldn't have to go there, and so it's all kind of just like processed crap food and everything.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, you get lethargic and like,
Yeah,
can't be bothered to do this sort of thing. Um, so it is you have to motivate yourself,
yeah.
get out and do some walk, even if you just do some walking, sort of thing,
Yeah,
like,
that was a big what I didn't golf much this year because that damn stuff is expensive. But I was I usually almost every day take the dog for a walk in the morning, and then when I was golfing more, like that was good because you're out there and then you're just not sitting around eating. You know what I mean? Like, okay, get some exercise, and it was good. So I'm like, I gotta pick it up a little bit, and I do better if you give me some sort of like, I don't know, a sport or activity. I'm more apt to do that than like, oh hey, just work out. What I wish they had is I wish they even had like, I don't know, some Xbox thing or something on a stationary bike where you could like race other people on the screen. You know what I mean? I'm like, that would be cool. Or like go, travel through weird stuff on a bike, or maybe road rash where you could hit each other. Like something. I'm like, if you did that, I'm like, okay, I would be more apt. I'm like, all right, let me go race around with someone or do something. But if like you're like, hey, just sit on the stationary bike, I'm like, no way.
I had 3 Kinder Buenos for breakfast. No regrets. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, I know, like, when I drive into work, if I very rarely, like, is there anything in the house that's decent for breakfast, and
Yeah,
all I slept in. So I just like make myself a coffee from my thermos. Make sure I've got some orange juice in like dilute orange juice in my water bottle, sort of thing.
yeah,
Head off, and I'll stop off at a garage or something to pick up my lunch for the day.
yeah,
9 times out of 10, I'll pick up my lunch and then I'll go, "Oh, these are on special. I'll have some of them." Oh,
yeah.
I fancy a bit of chocolate. I'll have some of that as well. And then driving along, drinking my coffee, eating like a penguin chocolate biscuit,
Hmm.
or a chocolate croissant, whatever I've grabbed that morning, just to get out.
Oh,
And
but says living la vida, Choka.
yeah, pretty much. Although I must admit, like, steak, I can eat a lot of.
Yeah,
I love steak, and I would just like, if I've cooked it up, I would just sit there and just go, like a machine. Jump, 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 jump.
Well, one thing I was like, oh god, this is like probably the worst thing. So I looked it up one time and I was like, oh, brisket. Like if you look up a pound of brisket has like 700 calories, right? And there was this place. So I was like, wait a second. I'm like 700 calories. I'm like a pound of brisket. And now, granted, obviously, if you like, I don't know, put it in sugar and all kinds of stuff, you would increase it or whatever. But just for intents and purposes, it like if you just kind of roasted it, it's 700 calories. There was a place by me, well, not really by me, but I'd go there. So I literally get like a pound of brisket and like have it for the day, and I'll be like full like all day. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, this is probably the worst plan, but I was like, ah, you do it like every other week or something. But I was like, it'd be like brisket day, so I'd get there at like when it opened, like 11:30 or something, and order a pound of brisket and eat like 3 quarters of it, and I'll be like full all day. So I was like, I'll like, go on the brisket diet.
Yeah, well, that's what's like. You had that big craze back in the early 2000s, the Atkins diet, which was basically just eating meat, like
Yeah, yeah,
carbs, just eat meat and like a few bits of like veg or whatever, certain veg,
yeah,
sort of thing. And if you did that, you would lose weight quicker, but what you got to do then is maintain that new weight that you've got, sort of thing,
yeah.
like properly, sort of thing. So it helps to fill you up because you're eating a lot more protein.
Hmm.
Um, but you do need to get like green vegetables and all that sort of stuff
Oh
into you.
yeah, I'm always a fan of just common sense is usually the don't eat too much of any
There's
whatever.
Oviton, like at work, I'll devour entire grilled chicken for breakfast. I had half a chicken on my way home tonight before the stream. Oh, there's not a lot on offer here. There's half a roast chicken. No, that's going. That's mine.
I I
And
go
oh, my producer with her steak.
there's
Yes.
oh gosh, don't get us talking about food. I'll be turn yeah.
Well,
I end up if
I'm
you
eating.
just
When we start this, I'm eating, but I call you eating tonight.
I know. One of these times I'm getting to the point where soon enough I'm gonna do maybe even on our show or whatever. I'm gonna like assemble the miniature. So I'm like, all right, I got like I cleaned up this room, like okay, set it up, and then when it's a little cooler or whatever, I'm like, all right, I'll assemble a miniature and then like paint it. And I keep seeing everyone's, and then I like more and more. And after watching different people's techniques a lot, I'm like, okay, like I guess I have a better mental picture of what I would try to do. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, do this. And like, especially my first one, I'm not going for, I'm like, get some paint on it and, to stay within the line somewhat or try to or whatever, I'm like, just get one painted and have some color on it. And even staying in the lines, I watched Bad Posture paint, and man, he gotten so like his style like keeps evolving. And I watched him, and he would like he's not even like worried about the edges, like sponging over a bunch of stuff and then it looks so cool. You know what I mean? Is not even like concerned about and like he just goes and adds the highlights after, and he did some really good stuff, and that's been like inspiring for me to watch because I'm like, oh okay, like I can process that in my brain and be like, you can be my tendency is to be like all like wired into like, oh, make this line perfect and make that this way. I'm like, you don't have to do that. You can just like, cut loose with the paints and put some cool colors down and do all that. So I've learned a lot like watching everyone.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It does help you like get that inspiration, that direction of how you can see yourself. And obviously, when you are painting, you do find you have your own sort of technique
Hmm.
and outlook to how things should be painted. Like, um, as you know, with my stuff, I am pretty much I like to be like down and dirty sort of thing. I'll
Yeah. Yeah.
go through it. If I make a mistake, I'll go back to it later, or I might just leave it in there because it adds a little bit more depth and definition to the
Yep.
actual. Um, but then you get some people that like that like nice, clean, crisp,
Hmm.
within the lines and everything. Um, but you can't criticize the person's technique because everyone's different at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. And I like that's the problem though, is I like so much of it. Like I'll go for the hardcore Blanchitsu and then the nice clean, crisp ones that almost look like a comic book picture. You know what I mean? Like who does some really clean ones. The one who does that crazy green with the salamanders, whose name I can't place right now, but they do
Uh,
that awesome green. It's like so bright and everything, but theirs are always so crisp and clean.
well, the only one I can think of is Carissa, Chrissy,
Uh,
who does who's done salamanders. But that's the only person I can think of who does salamanders.
yeah, I think it. Yeah, it is salamanders. I think. When will you
Yeah,
start to kit bash? Erus, that was the thing. Kit bashing back when I was a kid, that was probably like my favorite little part. I remember getting a dreadnought. I got a dreadnought and then I gave it like the reinforced armor. So I was like chopping it all up and then like adding literally like sprue around the shoulders so it would push the shoulders out but still cover it up and then filling it and sanding it and like doing all the stuff because for me that was always one of the things is like all those little like the sprue lines would drive me crazy when I did a model. I'd be like, okay, sand all that down and do all this. And then, so I did a little bit of like conversion stuff. And I always did kind of like that because it's like, I don't know, just a little bit of sculpting and stuff or whatever in there. Painting Sally's. Thank you, Blood Medusa. That's the one with the crazy green. Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking of.
We've got the people in the chat. They know what they're talking
I
about.
know that's everyone like I'm sorry. They always say like surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. Like yes, God, like everyone in here knows more than me about like all this stuff, so it's a good spot.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, the same like I like the salamanders with within like 40k and all that. Because they're they're the most humane. They don't look the most human
Yeah,
because
yeah, but they
the
act.
ebon skin, burning red eyes. Definitely not a straightforward default human look, but
Yeah,
they get to have this really sort of like connection to their humanity and stuff like that. And I just remember there was like a comparison that I remember reading somewhere about the differences between like Space Marine chapters. It's like the Iron Hands, for example, if they were chasing down a Chaos cultist and this cultist has gone running through a crowd of people
they would just mow the people down.
and just open up to kill the cultist, but doesn't matter if it hits anyone else, sort of thing. Whereas the salamanders will wait for that moment to get a clear shot, uh, and not hurt anybody else, sort of thing. So it was like, yeah, I actually understand them all now better because of that. But then there was the Space Force were meant to be quite close to their sort of kith and kin on Fenris.
Yeah, they do a little more.
Because you find out in um, the Prospero Burns, it's not necessarily true.
Yeah,
As a space wolf goes wading through a whole tribe of Fenrisians to get one guy,
yeah.
and you go, oh, I thought they were much nicer than that. But yeah, it's that's the heresy. That's 40k.
Yeah, war's hell, man.
What's hell, man?
See, I never. So like second is as far as I got. So like someone like the salamanders, I don't think they were around at much at all then. Like maybe they were mentioned something, but they definitely weren't models or there was only like a couple of them. So they're in like Peter Turbo, he wasn't that big then and like there's quite a few of them. Like you never really Alfarius or whatever wasn't much.
Flickman, and Layman Russ, pretty much.
Yeah.
They actually had models. They had these
Yeah,
little
the small one. I remember him because it was like,
Layman Russ with Frecky and Gary.
yeah, yeah,
I did have them. And Layman Russ, although he was changed to Marnius Calgar, the dude sitting down on the throne with the two power fists. Um, but yeah, they were the only ones that were really sort of mentioned because
hmm
again, famously, Layman Russ was a an Imperial Guard commander or something.
Yeah.
Uh, and then
I
obviously there
just
was,
I lucked out because I always just liked the wolf theme, you know what I mean? So I was one, and so when he came out, I was like, oh, and then it would just happen to be one of the ones that, kind of got like whatever their time to shine then or whatever.
well, yeah, because when I got into the hobby, it was Blood Angels.
Yeah, yeah,
It was,
they got real. They were really. They started coming out. I was around when they started coming out with a lot of Blood
it
Angel
was a
stuff.
Space Hulk. It was a Blood Angels force that encountered the Space Hulk. Um, so yeah, they had lots of things. They were like the poster boys, really,
Hmm.
back back in like the late
Yeah,
'80s.
they were, weren't they? Yeah, they kind of were. They were the big for a while
Yeah,
because they
I
were.
tried that scheme, but I couldn't match it, so it put me off. So, and I've never been. I did sort of try going back there and started painting some like dudes, but yeah, that disappeared quite quickly afterwards. Sort of thing. I just
Overton, you have fun. Oh, GTA 5. Bystanders ain't gonna run themselves over. You enjoy running over some bystanders with your with the
yeah,
with the
hopefully,
youngins.
hopefully you'll do a mission with my mate Crispy because he he's probably the worst person to be in a team with. Um, like I remember watching him, he will literally do an entire mission, get up to the last bit, and then he will screw the mission over deliberately and just laugh at people. It's like one of those kind of guys. He's really good at the game, but he would literally go through a mission. I remember watching him where all they had to do was get this truck that you've captured over and park it in the spot, the bay where it says to. And as the person's driving a truck, he like detonates a bomb and blows it up.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened there? I don't know, but yeah, that's the kind of guy he is. Uh, yes.
Yeah, I played a decent amount with the Space Wolves back then, and I loved back then. It was like the Space Wolf Scouts in second edition. I really enjoyed those units. They were like cool, and then Blood Claws were just because they were cheap and half reckless. You know what I mean? So like those were good, and then I liked the Dreadnoughts. Used to end up taking those. One of them, I mean. So that was like I always I could never vehicles besides dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts I used to have success with, but like vehicles were always such paper thin. Like you could put a squad of Space Marines in there and someone would just one shot it and then your whole squad's blown up too, with the right rolls. I was like, dude, that's like an expensive paper mache can.
Mm. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, people in the chat, right? So, when you got into the hobby, what was the unit or model that sort of lures you in? What was it that sort of like you thought, I'll have a bit of that?
Yeah.
What was it that sort of brought you into it? Well, for me, um, I actually had like a part time job in a toy shop, which
Okay. That'll do
I
it.
was still at school and I had this part time job. So after school, I would go work in this toy shop, sort of thing, for a couple of hours, and then go home. But I got sort of like I think it was like 20% discount on toys. So like,
Yeah.
yay! Um, but the first Citadel miniature that I bought was this. It was a Chaos Knight on horseback, and he had like the Mandalorian type visor going.
Oh gosh, I probably must remember that one.
And I saw that and I thought I like that, and I bought it, and then I got into sort of like the old RTB01 plastic marine sets and stuff like that.
Yeah, so
And,
that was when so that was it was weird with mine because I think I saw metal ones with that. I can't remember which one came out first, but I think I had metal ones first and then I saw the box and kind of knew what they were because here you didn't have like a real store with them. Like you might have had a store that had a couple blister packs of something on there and that was it. You know what I mean? Just because they happened to order it. So I think like I had a blister pack or whatever of some of those of the metal ones, I think, and then right around then it was our the then the plastic ones came out kind of after, and that's when it really like picked up. It was like, oh, these are cool. You get a box of those, and they had a whole bunch in there.
Oh, totally, yeah. Because Blood Medusa, the Bloodthirster, hands down. Um,
Oh yeah, I could see that.
the original Bloodthirster one, or the one that came out later. Um, so, because I remember the original sort of like metal one was like standing there like going
Yeah,
"Grr,"
yeah,
with wings spread behind them, sort of thing. Which is probably like only a quarter of the size of the current Bloodthirster.
yeah. I know now the size of these things.
My first was a Blood Angels Dante, 1995.
Yeah, I could see that. And now I'm trying to figure. Okay, did okay? So I don't. Were Blood Angels kind of at one point like more the poster boys, and then right after, wasn't there like there was some event they did with Ultramarines, and I think ever since then Ultramarines were like the super poster boy. And maybe it was one of the boxes, or maybe, I mean, they were on the second edition box, weren't they? It was Ultramarines on the box, if I remember correctly.
Second edition. I think second edition was. I don't know if it was Ultramarines.
But I just remember for a series of years that Blood Angels were really like the thing. Like they were all out there. It was just funny that you brought it up because I was like, wait a second, I think you're right.
You know, like with Space Hulk, um, like the original Space Hulk, there was Blood Angels on there. Gene Stealer um, was Deathwing on the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
front. It was Deathwing Terminators.
Deathwings
Uh,
were cool. I like Deathwings.
Um, well, they actually done like the book Deathwing, which was actually really cool. Where it was like because they were saying about the Dark Angels had quite a wide span of planets they recruited from, and
Oh, gotcha.
it was based on this one squad of Deathwing Terminators who'd returned back to their home world, uh, but they were like Native American Indian.
Yep, yep.
I had the librarian, two heads talking. You had Cloud Runner, and then there was like several others. And they've gone back to their home world, which had been infested by gene stealers, and they fight their way, kill the patriarch, virtually all die out, and then that was
Yeah.
that. And then they totally changed it again afterwards. They turned them into whether or not it was basically cultural inappropriately appropriation or whatever. But then they changed it that they're like Titanic Knights, that knightly
Okay, so
orders.
that is what happened. I remember because yeah, they had it. They used to have a lot more feathers and like all. And I was like, okay, I didn't know kind of what happened to that. And then Rob Walter said the original Ruglids armored orcs, Ruglids,
Yeah, the
huh?
old cave dwarves.
And a blizzard. Oh, so yeah, at one point I had a lot of fantasy. I got a lot of because I bought the I forget which one was the second edition box set out with the same time fantasy kind of came out right around there. So I ended up picking that remake of fantasy up, and then I got a bunch of dwarves and stuff from them, and I had quite a few of that.
So I had, I liked the look of the Chaos Dwarves, but that was sort of like mid-90s, I think, wasn't it, or
Yeah,
early, where they seemed to have like top hats, uh,
yeah.
and very aggressive and angry. Um, Blood Producer, the newer one, was a bit of a newbie. For being in the hobby for 5 years, your painting standard is awesome. So if I had it on, I'd be taking it off right now. Still like the origins of Deathwing
I'm
painting that line
That's
because of
so
the
it's so wild. Like someone, that's so cool to me. Like from where it started and around here, like you to just find anybody who knew anything about one of like miniatures in general was like a scarce thing. You know what I mean? Like people are still getting into it, and like people found it cool. Like Medusa got it 5 years ago, and people are still finding it now, and just like it's just wild to me. It's everywhere. It's like so big now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like how I see these people coming in and like joining in with the hobby and becoming part of the hobby family sort of thing. Um, and you just think like I've been doing this for since I was like 13, 14
Yeah.
thing. I've been only been doing it well for the last sort of like 10, 12 years. As I
Yeah.
said, I paint to a decent standard, tabletop standard. I don't have any airs and graces about that sort of thing. You know, there's if you look at my models, they look all right on pictures and all that, but on closer inspection, you just go, eh. Um, but you know, some of these like newer sort of like blood producer, like seeing her work is just fantastic. And Rob, like Rob's been around for he's been around for a while, old Rob. But the stuff that he does is just phenomenal. Um, so you know, we all have our different sort of looks, how we interpret how things should look as well, and we go at it as best we can. And you know, we're our own worst critics at the end of the
Oh
day.
yeah, that's very true with that stuff.
You know, just embrace it. Just go with it. You know, you paint them how you wanted to paint, and you know, just be at one. It's like you don't see. It sounds weird, right? But I was thinking about this the other day. It's like you know, like you have like Van Gogh. You have Michelangelo.
Yeah.
You know, these greats. You know, Da Vinci. There's not really, apart from like Van Gogh and several others that begin with M. I can't think of the actual how to pronounce the name right now. You know, there's not that many people nowadays, artists that are creating stuff that causes a stir. That you know, apart from like the shock artists, like maybe like Damien Hirst sort of thing,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
they haven't created things that you can imagine being in the Louvre or sort
It
of
might just be like, and I thought about that. It's like, it's almost because it's a different time, and then like so much things are like saturated. Like in the illustration game, I mean, there is like almost an unlimited amount of awesome illustrators out there. You know, that's it's a little different to me than just art, but I think it's the same way where like it seems like it's almost like diluted or something where because of how everything spreads it's almost like back then it was more attention was focused on one thing because you couldn't just find art everywhere, you know what I mean? It just wasn't. So like when something was popular and it rose to the top it really kept garnering more attention. So I was trying to think about that because I sort of feel the same, but then if I say that, I guarantee you I could go find some real cool, inspiring art. You know what I mean? That was just, it's just that now it doesn't like, all the people don't coagulate around it or something. I don't know.
well, it's like when I was doing my sort of working on my Open University sort of degree thing. Um, we were doing like art, and I was being introduced to the fact that like you could look at a picture, but they're sort of trying to teach you how to look at the picture.
Yeah.
What do you notice? How does the like the light have influence? The brush strokes and stuff like that. And I'm just like, is that a thing? You know, I'm looking at a bowl of fruit here. But then you can see like in a museum, you go and see some of the great artworks of the world, and you stand there and you look at them and you go, you've seen it 100 times.
Yeah, it is way different in person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are there looking upon, like obviously the Mona Lisa, for example. First of all, it's smaller than you imagine.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, it's tiny. Um, but you know, you see these things, but it is how people talk about a thing. Now, I say that because one of my favourite little things I go onto YouTube to watch is actually Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah.
There's this thing where Doctor Who takes Vincent van Gogh to a museum, and they have Bill Nighy as like a museum. Um, oh, I can't remember,
Curator.
curator, and the doctor basically asks him, "What is your opinion on Van Gogh?" And he just starts going off on one, and like Van Gogh standing there, you see him. I actually feel like I'm tearing up right now. Like you just see this scene. It is just. the way Bill Nighy is describing his artwork and this troubled man, and you have Van Gogh standing there listening to him talk to, to say just like you have meaning. You
Yeah,
you have done something that has brought this man to talk about you and your work in such passionate detail. And to say I've got actually tears in my eyes thinking about it. It is just for a science fiction TV show,
yeah, to touch something.
really
Yeah,
deep. But they're
I
just perfect.
I see. When I was younger, like it didn't. You'd be around that, and it was nothing like that that sucked me in, like any of the old master. Like I could obviously tell quality and obviously like sculptures and stuff like that, but I was like, oh yeah, a bowl of fruit, who cares? I'm like, draw me a dragon, you know what I mean? Paint something cool that doesn't exist, like take me someplace. That, and I think because of that age, and you're growing up and you see something like Star Wars, that was like where my mind went. So I was like, that's cool. Like it's fantastic. It's like you don't see anything in the real world. So someone would paint like this beautiful field picture, like, oh, who cares? You know what I mean? So they'd be like, Van Gogh, like, what? like I don't care. So I had to get older before, get into art where you start to appreciate, kind of what was going on. Because for the most part, like, dude, I don't care. Like, you go paint a field as good as you want. It's still not as cool as a dragon that someone made up. It's like I don't care
Yeah,
about your, like, here's a farm scene of a man and his wife. Like, whatever, dude. Like, there's millions of farmers and wives. Where's a horse or something?
dragons. There's no
Yeah, like, where are
dragons.
your dragons at, bro? I was like, are these people out of touch with what was going on? Like, where's the dragons?
Yeah, that's the thing. Until you have sometimes, I'll say like people can just be a little bit blasé about everything, and I know like where I take my like photographs of like the sky and like down the beach and all that sort of thing,
Yeah,
capturing moments. That what I've seen is just what I've seen, but being able to show other people, like just looking like I love looking at the pictures I posted yesterday where I was at the beach with the kids and seeing the waves, and I'm just looking at the waves and the shape and the form.
yeah,
It's just little stupid things like that that it's you know you've got we've all got to get out of this situation where we just accept what we see. We have to look at what we see
hmm
and really sort of open our eyes to what we're looking at. Because I've said it to loads of people, like there is beauty in the world. It might be a giant steaming shithole at the moment.
yeah. But there's good stuff. I
There
know.
is stuff out there,
Yeah. And nowadays it's so, with especially with the plague and everything, it's so easy to focus on the negative. And it's like,
Bring out your dad. Bring out your dad. Um, but it's just I don't like with like emotional and mental health issues and stuff like that. But just going outside, sitting in a field, looking at trees. Sometimes
absolutely.
as beautiful
Well,
as they can experience. You
I'm
know,
a big like nature, like where I go, like the fall colors here get really good. Like, so you'll get some really, because they have a lot of hardwood. And you go, and that is like one of my favorite. It it still to this day just mystifies me. Like, especially when I go in some woods where you get like, say like 15 or 20% of the leaves are on the ground, so the trees are still full, but then the ground leaves are just as bright, and you walk in there and it's just like this amazing, and especially if it's like the sun streaming through, and it's just like this kaleidoscope of like color and texture, and like, I'll stare at it and be like, wow, look at that, and the way the light's coming through here, and just that, and then you'll see like a wet moss or something in with it, and I just like love all that stuff. I'm like, for me, that was one of the things where you get away, and I'm always like online right now and all that stuff, but I'll go up there a lot of times, and you just like, it's a totally different, I just get away from it, and you're in nature, and check, it just smells good, and the fall leaves and no bugs, and go walk around and everything.
well, that's exactly the point. I think getting out, just seeing the world. It's hard. Something like if you're in the middle of like a metropolis area sort of thing,
Yeah.
middle of a city or something like that. yeah, it's hard. Like, and I might be taking things for granted because where I am, I've got forest just at the back, and I've
Well, I
got,
think it is, yeah,
you know,
dude.
beach. Yeah, I can be on a beach within about 20 minutes. Um, you know, it might not be the greatest of beach because there's a freaking huge oil refinery to one side,
Yeah,
but still,
yeah,
it can be really nice, and it's sort of losing yourself sort of thing sometimes where you can just go there and just sit in peace and just, listen to the wind, smell, the salt in the air from the
yeah,
sea, and just, just be at one with yourself. You just forget about everything. And I do it several times. Well, as and when I haven't done it for a while yet, but I'll go out to my little favourites point. I'll just chill out for like half
yeah,
or an hour, just you know, not thinking about what's going on in the world. I'm just
totally.
being at peace, sort of thing. And it's just taking that time out just to reset and rebalance yourself, really. Um, yeah. So as Blood used to say, it's like nature is the best antidepressant, and it is. If you can't do the social thing, at least you can get out, get some fresh air, and
And that's it. I had the opportunity, and I kind of a long time lived like I don't know, like a little bit just outside of burbs. So you had access to woods, you know what I mean? And I feel for some people who like if you were growing up in a city and you can never kind of just go run around in the woods with no super and like now times have changed too, but it's like I could go out at night with a few friends or just go run in the woods and no one would ever ask where I was. You know what I mean? Like going out in the woods, like doing like just you're totally free as a kid, you know. It's like, oh, I'm out in the woods, no one's around, do whatever I want type deal.
well, that is like the thing. Like I think being able to sort of just go out and I say like Rob's game. What's this outside you speak of? Is it a scary? Um, Anywhere can be scary, I suppose. But I say it's just finding something that's or something it's finding somewhere. Even if you just go out for a drive, pull over. You like
Yeah.
especially where I am, Essex. There is a lot of fields and like woodland and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I have like on my way to and from work, I've just stopped just to go out of the car, just had a little walk around, just breathing in, listening to the sounds, take some photographs, if I want.
Hmm.
Um, just enjoy the moment that's there. I mean, because then that's like something, is something special, to myself. It's just sitting there looking at some bloody
Yeah.
doing, but the way the light is catching them and the colours, the smell, and all that sort of thing. And you say, just it does help me. It's helped me get through all the shenanigans that has been going on.
Yeah. No,
Like,
I'm a lot the same way. Mechanical Frog said, I don't know. Discovering how badly my tennis skills have atrophied over the past 10 years is pretty depressing. Yeah, I it would go somewhere and like go to run around. I'm like, oh my gosh, my like cardio. You don't do anything. I'm like, oh man, like, and I'd play like racquetball. I'd hate to know what it would be like to play racquetball right now.
mm. Apart from angry geese, Rob's.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I've been
you know,
attacked by angry geese.
um, my work is 15 minutes away from my house, and I cycle through the nature reserve every day. It's nice to see the season. Yeah, you know, I
Oh,
don't know.
good for you. You get to cycle in the. I don't. I'd probably be too lazy for that. But that's like if someone does that in the morning, you go like for a bike ride, and the like. That's like the perfect way. I'll do the walk, and what I hate at this point is I hate that exercise makes me feel better. Like I like resent it because then I know it makes me feel better, and I resent myself more for not doing it. I'm like at least if it was just like hey, you'll be healthier and you'll live longer. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. But the fact that it actually makes me feel better during the day is the part where I'm like, all right, man, you gotta like do more.
Dude. Exercise makes you feel better, makes you live longer, which means you can eat more bacon
You have a good point. And cheesecake.
and burgers and
Yeah. I
Especially
know.
that.
And so now, like, whatever, I'm in the new phase of life where all I think is about like my mortality. I'm like, oh god. So like,
Oh,
you know,
don't, no, no, don't go back down that route. Right,
I know. And so that's
come
why I'm just
away,
like,
come away
you
from the
gotta live it
edge.
up and do the good because you like if you focus on that, you'll be like falling through some rabbit hole, man.
It's all good. It's all fun, and that's the thing. It's you got to sort of make every moment count and stuff like
For
that.
sure. And now I'm like, oh man. And that was the thing. I went through a phase where I wasn't like going many places. I wasn't like doing much, and I was half content with it. You know, it's like, oh, okay, I really don't want to go anywhere. And I'm like, then I was like, man, you like at least do something, like see something, go, interact with people you wouldn't. And I'm like, so now, like the last few years, it's just been, I'll do a lot more stuff or go places or whatever. So I've been conscious of get it in while because I'm like, I'll knock on wood, healthy and all that stuff. So I'm like, go do it while you can, man, because that stuff can end at any time.
Yeah, no, well, that happened for me a few years ago when my friend Chris Booth died suddenly, like
Yeah.
heart attack, one morning. Because what he died on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
Now he used to run a gaming club on a Friday night, and where at the time with me and my kids, I'd see my kids several times throughout the week. But this particular Friday, um, they were going to a family get together with their mum. So they said, "Well, you don't have to worry about coming up. We're doing this." So I went, "All right, no worries." And I thought, I'll go down to Chris's gaming club. I'll go
Yeah.
down, see how Chris is, see the other people at the gaming club, and all that. And I looked from where I worked because I worked sort of like from this place. It was like 30 odd miles away.
Yeah.
And I just looked at it, and it was like going away from where I lived and stuff like that. And the traffic was looking a bit rubbish. So I thought, yeah, I'll go another time. I'll get another Friday off at some point.
Yeah.
I'll go. And then the following Monday on Facebook, he's dead.
Gosh. Yeah. I know.
And from that point on, I've basically, if something's come up and I want to go to it, I will go to it.
Hmm.
And as you say, you just don't know. You know, I could be abducted by aliens and viciously probed
Yeah.
repeatedly because they enjoy it.
I know. And,
Um,
and that's what part of me like when I was like, gosh, what was I in like third grade? I was really young, and I remember it was just making a friend. It was like he just started. I was already there like a year, I think, and then they had come on, and not too long after, he ended up dying of leukemia. And I remember being at that age, your brain, it was like it was a weird experience. You know what I mean? Because you're like really young, and that kid you were just chilling out with and was fun was like gone. You know what I mean? And so it always like stuck. It just stuck with me. I'm like, man, that's like you're that young. You didn't even get to do anything. You know what I mean? And it was just like luck of the draw, and that's it. And I'm like, wow, like and so it was always like kind of in the back of your mind. It's like, hey, stuff happens, you better like, like that person can't go do whatever, go to the park, or you know what I mean. So I was like, I try to keep that stuff in my mind and just be mindful of the moment and like just grateful for whatever, because like especially these days it's like it's easy to get overwhelmed with everything that's going on. So it's like, okay, spend some time thinking about like the good things. And I'm like, I'm not all like, I got my health, I got friends and stuff like that, so try to freaking be
oh,
positive about it.
yeah, definitely. It's like again, like with social media and stuff. Like some of these people in this chat, for example, I've made friends with. Like obviously, I've made
Yeah.
a good acquaintance with because obviously you keep asking me back. Um, I'm assuming that's the reason. But it's embracing those moments, embracing those people, and just trying to enjoy and live your best life without being a dick. I find that's a very good sort of barometer.
Yeah.
Be a dick and just have a good time. So
I
I mean,
know, I know. That's it. It really is that. It's like no one wants to like.
and donuts, as Blood Medusa says. We must have donuts.
For sure. It really is like it's like
Donuts.
don't be a dick. And I think aging a lot helps with a lot of things. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh God, like just the amount of things I take serious or let stress me or whatever. I think about like when you're younger and like I'd be worried about like some test or something. Like I think about the stuff I used to worry about younger. I'm like, oh my God, none of that meant a thing. Like what was I doing? Like what any of that like stressed about that stuff? Are you kidding me?
I was actually having a conversation with somebody on social media, and she was saying like, "Oh, I don't care, I don't care," and all that sort of stuff about what's been going on. And there was like some sort of like a situation you imagine if you was at school and you just go, "Oh yeah, this is the end of the world," and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was saying to them, I said, "Look, you'll get to a point when you're like as old and withered as me, sort of thing. You get, everybody gets to this point where not giving a fuck. You you're 20 sort of thing, and you say I don't give a fuck. You do not know the meaning of not giving a fuck because when you hit like the sort of mid to late 30s, not
Yeah.
early 40s, you've mastered that shit.
Yeah.
You know, do not.
Totally.
It really has no. And
That's
you know,
like when I'll see sometimes like people will be like wound up with some release or like whatever the miniatures, and I'm like, I feel bad because I'm like, I wouldn't even know how to care. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, if a game company probably someone I didn't like, I just wouldn't even like it. You're like, okay, like next, like what do I like? You know what I mean? I'm like, and I get it that people if you spend time painting miniatures and you're into the game and you see it change, like I get it, and I would still be like, oh, that sucks, but I'm not like as far as emotionally invested or what like how it's going to rattle me. I don't have the energy for that. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll go on to something that I do like. You know what I mean? It's like, all right.
oh, see you later, miniature apothecary.
Miniature, thank you very much for stopping by and great work, appreciate
Always
it.
lovely to see you, dude. But yeah, obviously we'll be sharing cake with Blood Medusa, and yeah, yeah, we'll leave someone in a
Yeah,
box.
we were all over. This was quite the chat day today. Thanks for making it, everyone. This was a fun one. I got some stuff done. I'll end up going back and touching
Have
up.
you actually been working? I didn't
I
notice.
did some. I did some, and I'm like, all right, as usual, I'll go back after the fact and like touch some of these up and add some stuff. But I needed this. I'm like, I just like half rough week and whatever. So it's been. I was like, all right. It's so weird too. I'm like, how big a part of my life, the a good amount of positivity, like a huge portion of it literally comes from like the hobby community. Like, I'd be part of me, I'd get to a point where I'm like, what am I doing with I'm like, is this like the smart thing to do, invest all this time into paint overs? And I'm like, okay, I'm all oldest man. I'm like kind of like rebooting my life. I'm like, is this, like this is the dumbest probably thing ever. And then I'll get like just a couple random messages from people like, I loved it, or I seen your something in White Dwarf, and I'm like, all right, people do like there's something here, like keep going with it, don't be all. And so just little things like that as far as like motivation, and then just seeing everyone's artwork and then interacting with people just on this live show. It's like, okay, I'm not like going out, I don't know what, clubbing, or you know what I mean, even like so it's like you're not getting that kind of like social thing. So this is like a lot of is social activity for me as far as this part. And plus it's like it's fun nerdy talk. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I still don't sit around with a lot of friends and talk about like Dune or the hobbies. And I have been talking more and more friends about, like, I was like, all right, if I get Necromunda going, like wrangle some friends up to play and all that. So it's kind of prompted it. So it's just amazing for me in the year half time, like what comes of the hobby, just like interacting with people.
Well, I say that's what it is. It's a pleasant distraction from the horrors of life. And say like we've got Rob, we've got the blood producer here.
Yeah.
We've got cake. It's all good. It is all good, wholesome. Um, and that's what. we're enjoying ourselves. There's nothing wrong with that. We can't be arrested for
I
it.
know. I like the laughs. We get some good laugh. Like it makes me laugh, and I'm like, all right, I guess that's enough. I'm like, I hope other people would enjoy it, but I'm like, I got the important one. I'm getting a laugh out of it.
Like I say, I, as I've said before, I enjoy the Wednesday night, paint overs. It's great seeing like the models, and then doing your thing with them, and just giving them another sort of aspect and lease of life of uber awesomeness.
I know
And
it is fun. It
everyone
does.
in the chat, but Steve Foot, he's late to the party, but he's here, and
Oh,
he finds.
Steve Foot. Thanks for Steve. Oh man, he's one. That was I gotta still have it in here. I don't know if I had to get rid of it for room. Um, I so I oh this one. I remember that one. And
Reminds me of like a scene you'd seen, like one of those old sort of
that's
like
what I was going for. Yeah.
a tapestry or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, here I am,
That
and
reminds
here's the
me.
sword,
I've been
about to smite someone.
it's a bummer because I have to take them all and like if someone they'll look good on the screen, but if you print them, they're almost always like I would say like 4% too dark. You know what I mean? So I always gotta like take it and I have to take it into the Lightroom and like adjust it and then print it off of there. And then like it'll look too bright to me when I look it on the screen. So you almost have to have two different versions.
So I've totally ignored what you're saying.
Oh, that's okay.
You see
I
what
never
common
say anything
use
important, so you never
there.
have to feel bad.
Oh, it's like ward by heart. That's the thing. It's like we're here. I've not had a great week. Scott hasn't had a great week.
No,
We all turn up on a Wednesday night and say like, I've done 4 bottles of bud. I don't normally do 4 bottles of bud.
this is a
On
4 bottle day.
Yeah, it's a 4 bottler. This one, 4 bottler and some Lucasade for those that need
God,
the.
and
Um, I recognise that dude.
I
Uh,
know, and it makes me want to get the camera and play with because you use that different whatever the lens or whatever or filter, but and then I'm like, because I'm like, man, I need to start like photographing some like with the lighting that I know I would play into, and more or less, I'm like, I got to do it because I'm building out on the website. I'm building out the little like tips for photography that help. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I should snap some of like, hey, try something like this or something like that, and have a bunch of versions on there. And
well,
so,
tonight I was speaking to my friend earlier on, Nigel, because I mentioned he was asking me about if I was getting the latest White Dwarf because it was after the Blood Bowl ref card.
yeah,
And I said, well, I don't know. I normally only buy White Dwarf when there's something in it I want to see. Like obviously, for
yeah.
somebody was in there. Um, so, I got
Right.
that
You
one.
better buy that.
I did, I did.
Oh my God.
Um, but
Oh, you had it a while ago because I saw the
yeah,
picture.
yeah. Because we were on 466 or 467 coming up now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I got that anyway. But I saw it to him and said, look, you might Wednesday nights. I'm from 7 onwards. I do like a co-host on Artist Empire's live stream sort of thing, and we're probably going to be talking about Dune because he's a big Dune fan as well.
Okay.
He's like, oh yeah, I'll check that out. Sort of thing. I'll pop in, sort of thing. And he hasn't, because if he had, he would have made himself known. Uh, he's those kind of guys. Is like he knows I'm watching you, Lee, and stuff like that. But it's him who has helped me with my photography.
Okay. Yeah.
I used to go um, when I was going to Warhammer World because he lives up in Derby, which is about 20 miles away from Warhammer World. So I'd go up, pick him up, we'd go to Warhammer World. I might have been playing a game with a friend or whatever. But he'd come along just to go down, have a look round, but he'd be taking photographs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I learned stuff from
Yeah.
how he goes around because he's a professional photographer anyway. Um, and I learned a lot. And obviously, like my angles and stuff that I
Yeah.
do were basically from something that he told me once about how to, take pictures and stuff. So, and I've just basically just honed in on that. So I owe Nigel quite a lot to
Yeah.
my
Blood Medusa was commenting, "That's impressively imposing." It is, and I keep staring at this one. This one's going to get a paint over at some point. I look at what's cool is the ceiling has the grid, and I'm like, oh, how can I use that to almost put the huge buildings like in the back? You know, not like not necessarily a building, but you've seen them before in the paintings, like they have the huge structures. You know what I mean? And I'm like, huh, I'm going to try to,
point of how like imposing and tall those buildings would be. Like,
yeah. And that's what, so I saw, I'm like, okay, I want to play into that somehow because I'm like, you got this in like the foot and everything. I want to, I'm like, okay, I want to get into this one at some point. Cause, and if I really did it right, I would get some, I would take a photo of Space Marines or maybe even Mechanicus or whatever in 40K scale and get them around this foot. You know what I mean? Like coming at the screen and put that extra level of people are like, you remember the old paintings where they'd have like the people like running from the feet and like all charging in front of it, like the crazy scene. And I was like, okay, maybe I'd get some in there. So this one's just sitting there till I get the right, combination of whatever. Cause I'm like, I want it to be like epic. I'm like, you got this. This is one of my favorite photos of a Titan all time. Like whatever I've seen, I'm like, this is like so cool. So I was like, all right, play into that perspective with some sort of like the buildings and then, put maybe some of the units at the feet like there. So you get that huge sense of scale. So some point I'm going to be busting out this one. That was an awesome photo.
yeah,
So I
well,
think,
I'm proud as punch of that, seeing as it's my one.
yeah, I think we're good for the day, man. This was a good, fun show. So thanks everyone for joining. We had quite a few viewers today and everything. So this was, I think some other people needed it too.
Yeah, so like Robin, he said he needed to cheer him up watching these streams, and Blood Producers threatening to come back again. So
I would appreciate, yeah, yeah. People have stayed for a while. Thank you very much for coming by, and thank you for submitting the pictures and everything. I really appreciate that. It does. They pump me up. I can't lie. I see all the pictures. I'm like, oh, this would be cool. So it's amazing how simple I am in some ways because I'll just see it and I'll start thinking and like it lets me my mind go into that world. It's like, oh, what would I do? Some lighting there? Would I put a little laser flash or would there be light bulbs? And so I can just my mind gets occupied with that stuff, and I'm like the way I justify it is like at least if I'm doing paint overs and working on a skill and then like I'm getting semantic work and commission, so at least it's building something, so I'm like, okay, I get caught up in my own daydream world, but yet I'm still like building a skill set and growing it for something. So I'm like, okay, keep keep going with those two things.
I know, as I say, it's you know back to Mortarian. You know, I'm just studying how you've done the lighting and enhances the entire look just by the glow from his weapon as it's discharging into somebody's
Yeah,
face.
just it's got a good silhouette, and he had that shadow on the blade. And I'm like, all right, cool, put some blade in there, and I would really, go in here and shade and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, for what I was kind of going for, it was a great photo too because it was like one of the best angles for it, and so it
Mm.
had some of that lighting on it that I like and everything. So I was like, all right, I got to. And there's a couple more in there. Someone submitted. I think I retweeted it before. It was just like a one of those night haunts, and it had this amazing lighting. It was just like at the bottom, like with some like I don't know what it was, lantern or something, and it gosh, it blew my mind. So that one, I'm like, oh, you should do that. Overton, thanks for making it. We're gonna. Mechanical Frog says you're all fired. Get out of my office and don't even think about stealing anything because I've already called security. No.
I'm just grabbing the first thing I can see in there, and I'm out.
Oh, Mechanical Frog's been putting out a lot of videos too lately on his YouTube, and he did one. So I think he's like on the same like trajectory. Like you do all this stuff and you got to learn everything, and there's a million things involved. But he did one that was kind of interesting because he was just using like the still pictures, but then did kind of like voiceover things. And I don't know if it was like 30, 40 seconds, maybe a little longer, maybe like a minute, but kind of just like a little story to it. So it set up the miniatures, take a photo, you know what I mean? And then kind of like not scroll through them, but transition while it was telling the story. And I was like, huh, that's a pretty cool idea. So
Mm.
everyone's doing a bunch of stuff, and I don't know, anything in closing, Lee?
Um, I really want some
No. Stay. Go visit your show. You're doing Saturday night, right?
yeah. We have Saturday, as per tomorrow, 8 p.m. till whatever time that can last till.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm actually, as I spoke to you beforehand, I've got to try and figure out if I can do the invite into the stream so I can have people on the stream, because obviously talking for sort of 4 to 5 hours
Yeah. Yeah.
is a bit of a strain at times. Um, but having, as I say, like with the shows here, just having somebody in with you just to have a chat,
Hmm.
have you on there, because I know you want to come in and just hang
Oh,
out and
absolutely. Yeah.
uh,
Heck yeah.
and,
I'm gonna just chat while you work.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'll get confused and go, hey, what's it?
What
Is
am I
this,
doing?
what's going on? Uh, I'm painting. I'm painting on a Wednesday. This is confusing me. Um, but yeah, it's just like, usual skullduggery and painting. I don't know what I'm painting yet. It might involve Titans. I don't know. It might involve a building.
Yeah. Steve, thanks for swinging by. I hope it's been good for you or what. I see some people are getting some more games in, so I don't know. Hopefully,
I'm desperate for a game of AT. I'm desperate.
I could bet.
I've got the shivers now. I'm just like going, I want to roll dice. I want to blow something up. Um,
Yeah.
so it's obviously withdrawal symptoms are kicking in now.
All right, everyone. I think I'm going to log off now. Thanks again for joining us, and hopefully you'll be able to make it next week. Medusa, thank you. Overton, Frog, yeah, you'll at least Lee will be here. We'll be able to, and I'm probably going to watch the trailer again for Dune today.
You have to watch him and
We're
start
the
watching reaction
whatever,
video.
man. I'm still claiming genius that we know there's centaurs in it and nobody else does, dude.
Yeah, yeah, we've discovered them. Screw you guys. There are.
All right, bye everyone.
Take care.
And